I want to protect them from that. If I can't add value to our conversation, I don't want to get involved. And it's kind of how I've conducted myself for many years. It's very close to my heart in terms of my personal integrity and my personal values. And it was a horrible decision to make. I mean, I'm a single mum. It's just my salary. And to turn around and tell people, often people you respect as well, by the way, it wasn't that there wasn't a good relationship there with these companies, that I wasn't going to do that. I stuck my neck out and I don't regret it one bit. I know it was scary, but I think it's paid dividend in a way, because now if I do speak to anyone from my community, they're happy to listen. They give me time, and time is the most precious, valuable thing each of us has to give. And again, that circles back to the curation of the events. I want to make every minute of that actually grows to 3 hours quite often, of the dinner valuable. And I've started inviting guest speakers, but they're under strict instructions not to bleat on for hours. That's not what it's about. It's a short introduction to a topic, and then everyone gets to discuss it. And it's just been a wonderful, inspirational place where there's no egos. Everyone just seems to find it so uplifting and valuable. I feel almost like a relief in the room, to be honest, because people are sharing the real world. And because it's closed door, nothing will ever be said about what's been said behind those, four walls. And that's incredibly reassuring, I think.
Sarah, you've obviously worked very hard to build trust in your operations. And it's fascinating to hear the how you get people in the same room. And the purpose of that seems obvious. What we haven't talked about yet is the why. And the why might be that you're talking about a people-oriented, human-centered culture within an industry, at least here in the US, that might be considered, I don't know what the word is, not unethical, but if people go to see a lawyer, it's not because they're in a great spot right now, right? Whether it's a defense attorney or a business-related lawsuit or, defending themselves against charges, those are very human, but not very complimentary situations to be in. So here you are talking about courageous cultures inside this hornet's nest of humanness. And I'm wondering how you balance things as you're obviously building trust. What do you say to people when you say you have to build a culture based on ethics in an industry that, again, here in the U.S. may not be considered the most ethical industry in the world?
Gosh, that's, again, a really good question, Mark. God, you're killing me today with these questions. I think I would circle back to leaders. They're not necessarily good leaders, are they? Let's be honest. They're good, they're bad, what have you. And the core of what I wanted to achieve was to help leaders be better and more courageous at what they do. When you look at CEOs, general counsel, chief ethics and compliance officers, who are really the core people that I work with, their challenges aren't all that different. And you've pointed out that you don't go and visit a lawyer because things are good. That's not necessarily the case in-house. I think there's a lot more formative work that goes on in-house. People who are in-house lawyers these days will talk about being ambassadors of the business. I think years ago, it was considered to be a cost base and all of these things. And similarly, chief ethics and compliance officers, not popular people in the organization, generally speaking. But I think there's been a shift. I'm not saying it's completely gone, that perception within the business, but I do think that they're now considered to be valuable seats at the table that actually can be very protective in their role. So protecting brand, reputation, share price, all of these things. So I think the role has changed in terms of how they're perceived internally. And I think the CEO's relationship with these people who are general counsel or chief ethics and compliance officers or even CFOs, what have you, there's a general greater appreciation for the value they can bring the business in being a cautionary voice, for example, at the table. And they like to say yes. And that's one thing I hear all the time is they want to desperately say yes. They don't want to be the voice that's saying no to business at all. In fact, it's really quite the opposite. And they will often think of creative solutions. And that's part of the conversations we're having to help say yes more often. Sort of going to disagree with you a bit, really, because I feel like the role has changed.